You've spent so much of your life investing in people, pouring your time, energy, and emotions into the people you loved. You built a picture in your mind of who they were, how they would act, how they would respond, how they would show up for you. You crafted an idea, a vision, a version of them that matched the need you had inside. But the truth is, you never really knew them. You didn't know the parts of them they never showed you. You didn't know their struggles, their insecurities, their fears. You didn't see the things they kept hidden, the battles they fought in silence. You thought you did. You thought your understanding of them was complete. But what you really knew was the version of them that fit the story in your head, the narrative you built to satisfy your expectations. You didn't know them. You knew what you needed them to be. You were projecting your own desires, your own hopes, your own dreams onto them and calling it love, friendship, connection. You built a world around them that was based on who you wanted them to be, not who they truly were. And because of that, you ended up trapped in a relationship, a dynamic, an expectation that was never fully real. You never really knew them, and they never really knew you. This isn't to say that there wasn't love or connection. That would be too simplistic. There were moments of joy, of laughter, of warmth, but underneath it all, there was always a layer of misunderstanding, a layer of projection that kept you both at arm's length. You saw them through the lens of your own wants, your own needs, your own desires. And they did the same. You never truly saw each other. In the absence of clarity, we create versions of people in our minds, versions that serve our desires, our ideas of who they should be, not who they actually are. This is the trap we all fall into. We mold the people we love into what we need them to be, and we call it connection. We mistake our projections for truth. We live in a dream world where people are who we think they are, not who they actually are. You see, relationships, all of them are mirrors. They reflect who we are, not just who the other person is. They reflect our insecurities, our fears, our desires. When we look at someone else, we don't truly see them. We see ourselves reflected in them. We see our own emotional landscape, our own needs and unmet desires projected onto them. And the more we do this, the more we fall in love with a version of someone that doesn't exist, the more we chase a dream, a narrative, a story, instead of the reality of the person standing before us. We tell ourselves that the way they treat us, the way they love us, the way they show up, that this is the person we've been waiting for, but we fail to see that it's not them we've been waiting for. It's our own idea of them. It's easy to say, I love you, when we're not really loving the person in front of us, when we're loving the idea of them, the potential we see in them, the version we built in our minds. We don't see their flaws, their contradictions, their humanity. We see the fantasy, but here's the truth. True love, true connection is only possible when we accept the other person as they are not, as we imagine them to be. It's when we allow ourselves to be seen, to see them for who they truly are, with all their flaws, their complexities, their darkness, and their light. And that can only happen when we stop projecting our needs onto them. When we release the idea of who we think someone should be, we begin to experience the full depth of who they really are. We stop creating expectations based on our fears and our desires, and we start seeing them as they are in their fullness, in their humanity. That's when true connection happens. But to get there, you have to let go. Let go of the version of them that you've been holding on to, the version that served your needs but never truly existed. You have to let go of the narrative in your head and start seeing them clearly, without the filter of your projections. This isn't easy. It's uncomfortable, because when you start seeing people as they are without the lens of expectation, it can be painful. It can shatter the idealized image you've been holding on to for so long. And sometimes the person you thought they were isn't who they are at all. They're not the hero of your story. They're not the savior you thought you needed. And that's okay. When you truly see someone, you're also seeing their flaws, their fears, their broken parts. And that can be confronting. But it's also the moment you step into authenticity. It's the moment you stop loving the idea of them and start loving who they really are. And only then can you truly be loved for who you are, not for the version of yourself that fits someone else's narrative, but for the real, unfiltered you. And this is the paradox. You never really knew them until you stopped needing them to be something they aren't. Only when you release the expectation, the fantasy, the projection, can you truly see them. And when you see them, you see yourself. You see the mirror that reflects your own wants, your own desires, your own fears. And only when you look at yourself in that mirror without judgment, without attachment, without the need for validation, will you finally understand what real love, real connection really feels like. What you thought was love, the version of them in your head was a ghost, a shadow of who they were supposed to be, not who they truly are. But when you let go of the illusion, you give both of you the freedom to be exactly who you are. And that is where the real magic happens. That is where love, true love, begins to take root. When both people are free from the projections of the past, when both are allowed to show up as their full, imperfect selves. And that is when something extraordinary begins. So, the question is, will you keep living in the story you've created about them, or will you embrace the discomfort of seeing them for who they truly are? Will you continue to chase after an illusion, or will you accept the truth of the person standing before you? Because ultimately, the love you seek is the love you give yourself when you stop needing someone else to be the version of them you've created in your mind. When you accept them as they are, you accept yourself as you are, and that is the key to true, authentic love. Now, step into that truth. Let go of the fantasy. Let go of the projections, and begin to love not the version of them, but the reality of who they are. And when you do, you will realize something profound. You were never in love with them. You were in love with a story you created. And when you let go of that story, you give yourself the chance to experience love in its most real, raw, transformative form. Now, with this realization comes a profound shift. The narrative that you built around them, the one that has kept you stuck, that has kept you tied to false expectations, starts to fade. The walls you've built between reality and the illusion of them begin to crumble. For the first time, you begin to see them, truly see them. But what does that mean? To truly see someone, it means seeing them beyond your projections, beyond the story you've told yourself about who they should be, and acknowledging them as they truly are. It means recognizing their flaws, their contradictions, their humanity. It means accepting that the person standing before you is not the perfect reflection of your desires, but a complex, multifaceted human being with their own fears, insecurities, strengths, and weaknesses. And when you can accept that, when you can allow yourself to see someone clearly, you begin to see yourself clearly too. Because the truth is, we only project what we don't want to face within ourselves. We cast our own unhealed wounds onto others, creating the image of who we want them to be, not who they are. We look at others through the lens of our own inner narratives, our own unmet needs. This is why relationships become so complicated. We are constantly interacting with the version of others that exists in our minds, not the reality of who they are. We argue with them over things they never even said. We blame them for things they never did, all because we have painted them into a corner they never fit into. But when you stop, when you finally see them, really see them, without the filter of your ego, something amazing happens. You begin to strip away the layers of false expectation and begin to interact with them in a way that's grounded in truth. Not the truth of your desires, but the truth of their essence. And here's the powerful part. You can only truly love someone when you love them as they are, not as you need them to be. When you stop seeking to change them, stop expecting them to be the source of your validation or your happiness, and instead see them in all their imperfections, you create the space for them to show up fully. You allow them to be themselves, not the version you've conjured up in your mind, but who they truly are. This is where freedom begins. You see, love is not about possession. It's not about molding someone into the person you want them to be, not about forcing them into a role that fits your needs. Love is about release. It's about giving both yourself and them the freedom to be who you both truly are, to accept one another fully, flaws and all. And this realization, this shift, doesn't just apply to your relationship with others, it applies to your relationship with yourself too. All those projections you've cast onto others, they are the same projections you've been carrying about yourself, the same story you've been telling yourself about who you need to be in order to be loved. That version of you that you've created, the perfect self that you think you need to be to gain acceptance, is a lie. Once you begin to let go of these projections, once you release the story you've told yourself about the right way to be, the perfect version of yourself you're trying to live up to, you will start to experience a freedom you've never known. True love, whether for another or for yourself, is born when you stop chasing after perfection, when you stop trying to fit into someone else's mold or force others into yours. It's born when you let go of the fantasy and embrace the reality. Not the idealized version, but the messy, beautiful, imperfect truth of who you are and who they are. Now imagine for a moment standing in a space where you no longer need to be validated, where you no longer need to see others as the saviors of your worth. Imagine loving someone for who they are, without the weight of your expectations, without the need for them to change or fulfill your needs. Imagine loving them for their humanity, for their flaws, for their essence, rather than the version you've created. In this space, you will find peace. In this space, you will find connection. And here's the incredible part. When you stop chasing after love that is built on projections and fantasies, when you start experiencing the real thing, that's when love comes to you in the purest form. It's not something to seek. It's something that finds you when you let go of the story. It's something that will flow to you when you allow yourself to stand in your own truth, when you stop seeking approval, when you stop needing someone else to make you feel worthy. You can only love someone else when you stop needing them to make you whole. And the same applies to your relationship with yourself. You are already whole. You are already complete. The love you've been searching for, the connection you've been craving, it has always been inside you. Let go of the story you've created about others. Let go of the story you've created about yourself. The moment you do, you will find that the love you've always wanted begins to flow to you effortlessly, freely, and unconditionally. So stop living in the fantasy. Stop trying to force others into roles they never signed up for. Let people be who they are. Let yourself be who you are. And in that freedom, you will experience love like you've never known before. Because the greatest love, the most authentic, the most transformative is love that is free. Free of expectations, free of projections, free to be exactly what it is, in its purest, most genuine form. Now, release it. Release them. Release yourself and let love come to you. But here's where things take a turn. It's not enough to just stop seeking someone to save you, to stop projecting your needs onto others. The real transformation begins when you face the uncomfortable reality that this projection is not just happening in your relationships. It's happening in every aspect of your life. You've been doing it with everything. Your career, your goals, your vision for the future. You've been running a narrative in your mind about how things should be, how they must be, based on your deepest fears and desires. How many times have you convinced yourself that a job, a title, a promotion, a house, a car, some external thing would be the thing that validates you? That this external thing would make you complete, finally give you the recognition you seek, and confirm that you are worthy of love and success. It's the same trick. It's the same projection disguised in different clothing. You thought that if you got that job, or if you landed that perfect partner, or if you just reached that milestone, everything would make sense. You thought those achievements would suddenly reveal your worth, but they didn't, did they? You still felt empty. You still felt like there was something missing. Because just like with people, you were chasing the wrong thing. You were chasing external validation, external proof of your worth, instead of building from within. This is the trap we all fall into. We live in a world that constantly tells us that our worth is determined by what we have, by what we do, by how others perceive us. We think that if we can just check off the boxes, hit the milestones, and achieve the dreams, we'll finally feel like we're enough. But that's not how it works. True fulfillment comes when you realize that you can't find it in a job, a title, or a relationship. It comes from recognizing that you are already enough. You've been looking outward for something that has always been inside you. You've been creating versions of success, versions of people, versions of happiness, based on what you think you need to feel whole. But when you strip away all the external noise, the truth is glaring. You have everything you need right now. This doesn't mean you stop striving for goals. It doesn't mean you give up on your dreams. It means you stop seeing your dreams as the final destination to your self-worth. You stop seeing external accomplishments as the validation that you are enough. You stop trying to fit into a world that has told you to become someone you're not in order to feel worthy. And that is when you become truly dangerous. Because when you stop needing validation from others, you stop being controlled by the fear of failure. You stop being enslaved by the need for approval. You are free. And freedom is terrifying to those who are still trying to measure themselves by the standards of the world. Freedom is the thing that makes people tremble because it means you can't be manipulated. You can't be bought and you can't be sold. Freedom is power. And power is what you have when you stand in the truth of who you are. The moment you stop living for other people's expectations, the moment you stop chasing approval, you reclaim your strength. You are no longer bound by the rules that others have set for you. So, what does that mean for your relationships, for your future, for the life you want to create? It means this: you get to choose. You get to choose the people you surround yourself with. You get to choose the relationships that serve you, that nourish you, that align with your true self. And you get to let go of the relationships that don't. You get to stop seeking validation in the eyes of others because you no longer need it. When you stop chasing the version of them that you created in your head, you stop asking people to be something they're not. And when you do that, you begin to see people for who they truly are, not for who you need them to be. And when you see them for who they truly are, you can love them as they are without expectation, without demand. You can love them without the chains of projection, without the weight of your own unhealed desires. And here's the most beautiful thing of all. When you stop trying to control the version of them, the version of the world, the version of yourself that doesn't exist, that's when the real thing finds you. Real love, real connection, real success, the kind that doesn't need validation, the kind that is rooted in truth, in authenticity, and that is the love, the connection, the life you've always been seeking, not the one shaped by expectations and projections, but the one shaped by who you really are. Because when you see yourself clearly, when you step out of the fantasy and into the truth of your existence, you begin to create a life that is not only fulfilling, but real. So stop. Stop running after the projections. Stop building stories around people, around relationships, around success. Stop living in the illusion that something outside of you will make you complete. You are already complete. When you step into this truth, when you stop asking for validation, when you stop projecting your desires onto the world and others, you will find that the world begins to reflect who you truly are. Now, stand in your power. See the people in your life for who they really are, not the versions you've made them out to be. See yourself for who you really are, not the version you've been trying to become. And as you do, you will see the world around you begin to change. Not because you've changed the world, but because you've changed yourself. You've always had the power. You've always been enough. And now that you know it, now that you see it, the world will never be the same again. And so with this realization, something begins to shift. The veil lifts. The illusion you've been living under, the version of people you've been holding on to starts to dissolve. You can finally see clearly, not just them, but yourself too. For the first time, you see them as they are, in all their humanity, not the version you imagined them to be, not the one you desperately needed them to be. And as you see them, you start to see your own reflection in a different light. You understand you have always been the creator of the stories you've told yourself. The projections you placed on them were just mirrors of your own internal world. The desires, the expectations, the fears, the hopes, all were reflections of the parts of you that were yet to be healed, that were longing for recognition. But now, with clarity, you begin to release them. You start to let go of the emotional weights that have kept you tethered to a false narrative. This is freedom. When you let go of the projections, you stop needing validation from anyone else. No one can give you the approval that you have not yet given yourself. The external world loses its grip on you. You stop being a slave to external forces, to the idea that someone or something else will finally fill the void inside. You come to realize that the void was never there. It was an illusion created by the projections of your mind. You stop needing someone else to fit into your story. You stop holding on to relationships that were never truly based on mutual understanding, but rather on the versions of people that existed in your head. And as you let go of these false images, you begin to see the real thing. Now, instead of searching for someone to complete you, to fit the mold you've created, you start attracting real connection. You begin to experience relationships that are based on truth, authenticity, and shared vulnerability. You find yourself surrounded by people who see you as you are, who show up without the mask of perfection, without the need to impress or perform. You find that the more you accept yourself, the more you open up to others, the more the right people gravitate towards you. And it's not just in relationships, it's in your work, your ambitions, your life. When you stop projecting who you think you should be onto your career, onto your passions, onto your achievements, you start to create from a place of authenticity. The chase for validation fades. You start doing things because they align with your true self, not because they promise you recognition. You begin to see success as an expression of your purpose, not a measure of your worth. And as you do, you attract opportunities that are aligned with who you really are. This is where true power lies. Power lies in knowing that you don't need anyone or anything to validate your existence. It lies in accepting the fullness of who you are, the parts of you that are messy, imperfect, broken, and whole. It lies in releasing the need for approval from others and stepping into your own light, unapologetically, without fear of rejection. The version of love you sought, the one based on projections, expectations, and fantasies, is no longer the love you want. The love you now seek is grounded in truth, rooted in self-acceptance. It's the love that is given freely, without strings attached, because it flows from a place of abundance. It's not love because you need it, but love because you already are it. And this is the key. True love begins when you stop needing someone else to be your savior. True love begins when you stop projecting, stop expecting, and start accepting. Accepting them for who they truly are. Accepting yourself for who you truly are. And in that acceptance, love begins to transform. So what happens now? What happens when you realize that everything you needed was always inside you? What happens when you see that the person you were meant to be, the person you've been searching for, has always been here in you? You stop searching. You stop seeking. You stop living in the stories of what should be. You start living in the truth of what is. And in that truth, you will find peace. In that peace, you will find connection. You will find love, not as a desperate chase, but as a natural outcome of self-awareness, self-love, and self-acceptance. You are enough. You've always been enough. And when you finally realize this, the world will open to you in ways you can't yet imagine. Because when you stop chasing the version of someone or something that fits your fantasies, when you let go of the projections that have shaped your reality, you will experience life as it truly is: beautiful, raw, imperfect, and free. Now go. Let go of the stories. Let go of the projections. Stop living in the version of others you've created in your head and start living in the truth of who they are. Start living in the truth of who you are, because that is where real connection, real love, and real transformation happen. And when you do, the world will never look the same again.